We just finished our sailing on the Brilliant Lady, the fourth and newest ship in the Virgin Voyages fleet. And with this new ship, Virgin is now able to offer more variety in itineraries, including much longer sailings than the 4 and 5 day itineraries that were the norm when the cruise line first launched in August 2021. We were on the third paid sailing of this ship, which made its maiden voyage from New York before repositioning to Miami, Los Angeles, and eventually Seattle for Alaska sailings in 2026. Our sailing carried 2,565 passengers out of a capacity of 2,765, while the first 2 paid sailings were filled with industry insiders and diehard Virgin Voyages fans. This sailing presented the crew with the first real challenge, a ship packed with first-time Virgin sailors. And adding to that, over half of the crew were on their very first contract, bringing no prior cruise experience. This 8-day itinerary throughout the northeastern US and Canada attracted a noticeably older demographic, and it created a Virgin experience that felt very different from our previous 8 sailings with the line, but I think much closer to what the sailings out of Alaska are going to feel and look like.
This is crazy.
We set sail from New York's Pier 90 on a beautiful day, arriving right around our designated embarkation time. In the days leading up to the cruise, Virgin sent several reminders urging guests to arrive as close to their assigned time as possible, noting there would be no indoor space available to wait at the terminal. And despite that, many guests arrived well before their slot and were understandably frustrated when they ended up waiting outside the terminal. We didn't have to wait long before boarding, but right away I could tell this was going to be a very different Virgin Voyages experience. Missing right from the start was the big, energetic welcome usually delivered by the crew and happenings cast. Instead, the atmosphere felt much more toned down, a theme that carried throughout much of the cruise.
Hello. Hey, they are. Hey, how are you?
If your only experience with Virgin has been the shorter 4 or 5 day sailings, be prepared. These longer itineraries on Brilliant Lady will feel noticeably different. The vibrant party vibe that you'll see in many of the YouTube videos is still available for those who seek it, but that's not really the centerpiece here. With a much subdued sailaway party, we opted to leave the party early and head back to the dock house on deck 7. I've never done sailaway from back here, but I'm glad we did. We were able to find a comfortable bed and watch the most stunning sailaway leaving New York City. Where Virgin Voyages really truly shines, in my opinion, is the cruise line designated for relaxation and connection. The intimate scale of the venues make the ships feel more like a luxury boutique hotel or a large private yacht at sea. And unlike the mega ships with vast open spaces built for big Broadway-style productions, Virgin ships lean into intimacy and atmosphere. As for Brilliant Lady, the ship hasn't strayed far from that formula. This is one of the signature spots for the Brilliant Lady. Every ship, this spot is different. There's different photoshops. Most changes are minor cosmetic upgrades, like improved seating in some areas, refreshed finishes, but overall the design philosophy remains the same. One of the changes I really appreciated was on deck 7 at the roundabout. On other ships, I rarely saw anyone using this space, but on Brilliant Lady, the area has been reimagined with some functional seating. Look how cool this is. It even hosted a few live music acts. On this sailing, it was refreshing to see the space constantly filled with people, and not just here, but across the entire ship. And since Brilliant Lady is poised to sail Alaska itineraries, I was curious to see how the ship would handle guests seeking indoor spaces during cold weather. While many of the lounges and public areas were busy, it never really felt overwhelmingly crowded. Passengers naturally dispersed throughout the ship, finding plenty of comfortable spots to relax. It was especially nice to see areas that usually go unused on other ships buzzing with activity on the Brilliant Lady. The only place that occasionally felt congested was the galley. And even so, there was still ample seating available, particularly because Gun Bay was open for overflow seating. Interestingly, it seemed not everyone realized this option was available, so it remained an underutilized escape from the crowd.
The ship has been full on the inside. They've had tons of activities, especially for a sea day. So for Alaska, when most of the people are going to be inside, I think so far they're doing a really good job with crowd control inside and having plenty of events. But like, it's been really weird to go out into a Virgin ship and see the pools completely empty. But
another change made with Alaska in mind was the lowering of many of the outside deck walls to allow better views. On the past ships, a majority of the outside deck had obstructed views due to risers, so it was difficult at times to get good views of the oceans. Brilliant Lady has reduced those. And while I do think the Virgin ships are better designed for warm weather than cold weather itineraries, if you're concerned about how crowded indoor areas will be during sea days for cold weather cruises, I think this itinerary calmed some of those fears for me. And when it comes to the cabins, you'll find little has changed from her sister ships. Unlike most cruise ships, the majority of the cabins on Brilliant Lady will be sea terrace balcony cabins. Virgin ships have relatively few inside cabins, so when you compare prices, you'll often notice that an inside cabin isn't much cheaper than the lowest price sea terrace. And with so many balcony options, Brilliant Lady is especially well suited for Alaska sailings, where most seasoned cruisers agree that a balcony is a must. And in order to reach Seattle for the Alaska season, the ship must pass through the Panama Canal, and to make that possible, Virgin raised the lifeboats, which resulted in slightly smaller sea terrace cabins in some areas of the ship. And to compensate, these cabins were designed with not one, but two of Virgin's signature hammocks, though it's worth noting that these cabins also come with a partially obstructed view due to the lifeboats.
oh my gosh,
So cool.
what do you see?
Beautiful.
You can't see anything.
It's beautiful. This is how it's supposed to be.
What?
This is perfect. This is perfect.
This is so weird, isn't it?
It's so cool.
The most common complaint that Virgin receives in their post-cruise surveys is about the beds. The mattresses are very firm, perfect if you like that style, but uncomfortable for many guests. We always ask our cabin attendant for a mattress topper as soon as we arrive. On past sailings, we've received excellent memory foam toppers, but this time we were only given a thin comforter laid out over the mattress. The result was a firm bed and a less than great sleep for much of the cruise. One of the positive notes about the cabin is that the water is included in the cabin, something many other cruise lines charge for. Showers are stocked with shampoo and conditioner, though we typically prefer to bring our own favorites from the home. I've covered these cabins in depth in other videos. If you'd like to see more about these cabins, check out my Virgin Voyages playlist in my channel. Our cabin's location was another highlight. I like booking rooms on deck 14 in the aft for this reason. It just literally steps away from the galley, just one set of stairs. And just like that, you're in the galley. The key here is to book the cabin as close to the back as possible, since there's very little foot traffic in that section of the galley above you where the cabins are located. That said, if you're prone to seasickness, the aft is one of the rockier areas during rough weather, so you might want to avoid it. Unlike many other cruise lines, all of Virgin's restaurants are included in your cost of your cruise. However, each venue is about the size of a specialty dining restaurant on any other cruise ship, which means the space is limited, especially during the prime dining hours. Before your cruise, only a small portion of reservations are released, so it's essential you prioritize booking your dinner and show reservations as soon as you board. If you don't want to deal with this, you can pay for the premium cruise fare under the newly introduced and chaotic new Virgin Voyages pricing structure, which has 3 different price fares with all sorts of restrictions or benefits. Very similar to MSC Cruise Line's 3 experiences rates. We had most of our dinners booked in advance, but we still needed to make a few adjustments once on board. Normally, you can just connect to the ship's Wi-Fi right away and make changes throughout the app. On this sailing, 2 of the restaurants showed us completely unavailable. The app is not giving us full restaurant availability, so we're going to Roho, where the staff was able to help us secure the bookings we needed. And Roho, to me, is a great example of Virgin Voyages listening to feedback and adapting when something hasn't worked as planned. Originally, Razzle Dazzle was a vegetarian-focused restaurant, but it never gained the popularity Virgin had hoped for. In fact, it was one of the few restaurants on board where tables were always available in the evenings. What was once considered a weak spot for Virgin has now been reimagined across the fleet, starting with Scarlet Lady, where the restaurant was transformed into Lucky Lotus by Razzle Dazzle, featuring a Chinese-inspired menu. The same reimagining has happened on Brilliant Lady.
Onboard Brilliant Lady, we will introduce Roho, which is an amazing Spanish restaurant that we just got finished cooking through, and the culinary excellence that Justin and Nate have really brought from Murcia is truly inspiring.
Virgin Voyages has completely reimagined the restaurant. And has quickly become my favorite dining venue on any Virgin ship. The Spanish-inspired dishes were vibrant, authentic, and bursting with flavor. Some of my standouts included the pimento cheese, the hamon croquettes, and the chicken and rice. It was so rich and comforting that it reminded me of my dish my mom made while I was growing up in Puerto Rico. And the steak, hands down, the best I've had on board. And desserts were just as impressive. Joel couldn't stop raving about the goat cheese flan, but as a cheesecake lover, I couldn't resist the Basque cheesecake that everyone on board was buzzing about. And it did not disappoint. If you're a cheesecake fan, this is a must try. And of course, Roho isn't the only star in Virgin's dining's lineup. Extra Virgin, the Italian restaurant, recently updated its menu. Some regulars were disappointed to see gnocchi removed from the menu, though I did see that one of the guests was able to manage to have it prepared specially for them. The steak once offered at Extra Virgin has been replaced by a New York strip, which in my opinion is even a better option. Then there's pink agave, which was my go-to favorite before Roho came along. This Mexican-inspired venue still delivers bold flavors and the steak remains one of the standout dishes. For me though, it's now the 3rd best steak on the ship after Roho and Extra Virgin. If you've had the chance to try all 3, I'd love to know which steak was your favorite. Let me know in the comments below. Gumbae is Virgin's Korean-style barbecue, and it's a fun one to book early on since it gives you a chance to meet and mingle with other sailors. In the past, service here felt more like a family-style experience, with the waitstaff bringing suggested dishes for the table to share. On this sailing, however, the server had us each order individually from the menu, a change that after 9 cruises I found a little bit confusing to navigate through the menu. The Wake is Virgin's take on a classic steakhouse and also doubles as one of the ship's brunch venues alongside with Roho. I highly recommend snagging a brunch reservation here at least once during your sailing. It's going to be a nice change of pace from the galley's breakfast offerings. Then there's Test Kitchen, the experimental dining venue. This one tends to be polarizing. Some sailors love the inventive, unexpected flavor combinations, while others find them a little too unconventional. Currently, there are 3 rotating menus, and you can always check on board to see which one is being served on a given night. We decided to skip it this time so we could dedicate more of our meals to trying everything at Roho. The galley is the closest thing you'll find to a buffet on board. Virgin made headlines when they first announced their ships would completely forego the traditional buffet in favor of this modern food hall concept. And while some cruise traditionalists may miss the classic buffet setup, the idea has proven so popular that other cruise lines have started to follow suit. Royal Caribbean introduced the Aquadome Market on their new Icon class ships, and Norwegian rolled out the Indulge Food Hall on the Prima class ships, which I absolutely loved when I experienced it recently on the Norwegian Aqua. This style of dining comes with several benefits. It helps reduce food waste, it ensures higher quality meals made fresh to order, And perhaps more importantly, it allowed Virgin to adapt more smoothly during the COVID era. Since each station is staffed and food is served directly, it minimizes passenger contact with shared utensils while still offering plenty of variety. And although you can walk up and place your order at each station, Virgin strongly encourages sailors to order from their tables instead. Simply raise the small flag on your table and the crew members will come to take your order. In the evenings, the galley rotates a portion of the offerings in order to provide some additional dinner options, especially helpful on a long itinerary. And beyond the main restaurants, there's a few other casual spots to grab a bite. There's made-to-order pizza available on board. The social club is where you can grab comfort foods like hot dogs, sandwiches, and buffalo wings. And just down from the social club is the Dock House, one of my favorite spaces on board. This venue blends indoor and outdoor seating with oversized day beds inside and even more outside. Best of all, you can order Greek-inspired small plates from the Dock House menu and have them delivered to your bed, making it one of the most relaxing and delicious hangouts on the ship. Overall, food is one of Virgin's strengths, and the fact that you can get this quality of food on a cruise ship included on your cost is pretty amazing. I think that each restaurant is better than the quality you will find in most traditional cruise line specialty dining restaurants. And the addition of Roho makes food even a bigger strength for Virgin Voyages.
If you like to relax, this is the place for you. If you're a party person, it's not really that kind of cruise.
No kids, so that lets the adults act like kids a little bit.
I think that's our biggest thing we've noticed is that it's a lot quieter and a lot more. It's a good thing.
You've probably seen YouTube videos with titles like Onboard Sex Parties and X-Rated Cruises. Those titles are just for views, and they're far from the reality of what the Virgin Voyages experience is actually like.
What you read, the hype that you read, isn't as scary, if you will, as it is in real life. You know, the pajama party was very understated. You know, people walked all around the ship in pajamas. It wasn't off color. Like, it wasn't something that you thought was like sleazy. You know what I mean? It was done tastefully.
Yes, Virgin Voyages is adults only, and that vibe definitely sets it apart from traditional cruise lines, but the new production shows aboard Brilliant Lady, well, they're not exactly X-rated at all. In fact, I'd say they're almost too toned down.
So we thought it maybe a little bit not our cup of tea, maybe a little bit too far, too out there, but it has not been at all, not even.
With Brilliant Lady, Virgin seems to continue to be toning things down, probably to attract more first-time cruisers, which makes sense.
Alice, please come to Virgin. We would love to serve you. God bless.
But part of me wishes they lean a little bit more into the adults-only energy that they're known for. And yes, there is a drag queen on board who hosts a very popular drag bingo. It sells out fast, and people win some serious cash. But if that's not your thing, it's simple, just skip it. Honestly, the most adult moment we experienced was during the stand-up comedy show.
Oh my God, you're so tall. You should be a model. If you want to be a model, because there was no social media, so you have to like figure out how they discovered you, you should go to the shopping malls. You should go to the mall and hang out, and the scouts hang out there, and they'll find you. And I would just hang out and wait to get discovered, and of course nothing happened. And then years later, I went back to visit my parents, and I found out that mall was really into sex trafficking. And I was like, why did they pick me for that? You know,
For our sailing, Virgin actually listened to guest feedback and decided to postpone a new show for the Red Room called Red Hot. In the reveal video, it was described like this.
It is putting on stage a celebration to the Virgin brand and Sir Richard Branson himself.
And by the time you're watching this video, Red Hot should be ready to debut, but during our cruise, that left a bit of a void in the entertainment lineup. And to fill the gap, Virgin brought back the fan-favorite dual reality show in the Red Room. We decided to skip it this time since we've already seen it on 9 Virgin cruises. The other big production running in the Red Room was Out of Time. It's a musical built around a time travel storyline. This one's been getting pretty mixed reviews.
Impressed with the overall production and costumes. Singing. Wasn't a huge fan of the actual show and story.
Great energy. That's all I will say. Won't see it again.
Really liked it. Costumes, acting and singing, and the digital sets were awesome.
Didn't care for it. Childish. Not up there, like the other shows.
Personally, I thought it was one of Virgin's most visually impressive shows, but story-wise, it's probably a one and done for me. The Manor is one of the most dynamic venues on board. It transforms from a performance theater by day into a vibrant nightclub by night. The entrance to the venue is one of the most photographed spots on any Virgin ship. During our sailing, we caught 2 brand new production shows here, and anticipation was sky high for both, especially Murder in the Manor. We are in line an hour and a half before, it's an hour and a half, right? Before, hour and a half before Murder in the Manor. This guy got in. How long did you wait last time? Over an hour did not get in. On one night, the line to get in stretched all the way back to Extra Virgin. Virgin Voyages recently switched from requiring show reservations to open seating for these shows, which has created some long wait lines like this. Hopefully they'll find a better system soon, or maybe bring back reservations to keep things running smoothly. Murder in the Manor easily stands out as one of Virgin's best productions in the space. It's an 80s themed murder mystery show. The interactive hour-long production blends cabaret, mystery, and acrobatics, and places the audience as part of the investigation to solve the murder of a famous pop star named Sheena. Up with a Twist is only the second show across all Virgin Voyages ships that comes with a cover charge, and honestly it's worth every penny. For just $50, you get a full multi-course meal and 6 rounds of drinks, with mocktails available if you're not drinking. The food was fantastic, and this ended up being my favorite show on Brilliant Lady. It's a fun mix of live music, dancers, and surprise acts. And the best part, at the end of the night, you actually get to vote for your favorite performer using this little box. And the winning act closes out the show, meaning no 2 performances are ever the same. This is a show that I would pay for each time I sail on Brilliant Lady.
But in reality, she doesn't even know. It was just my imagination.
There was no shortage of entertainment and activities aboard Brilliant Lady during this 8-day itinerary, especially on sea days. Personally, I like to take things slow when we're at sea and make most of the ship's relaxing spaces, like those amazing hammocks. On shorter cruises, I sometimes feel like I'm missing out if I stop to rest, but on this sailing, I truly had time to unwind and enjoy it all. On several sea days, the weather was perfect for lounging by the pool. The atmosphere was calm and laid back, more of a peaceful retreat than a party scene, which was a nice change of pace.
I don't know if you can tell from the picture here, but they've actually made the deep end much larger on this pool. So
if you've never been on a Virgin Voyage ship, check out my Brilliant Lady ship tour video on my channel. It's a great way to discover some of the ship's hidden gems, like the Groupie, a set of 3 private karaoke rooms that you can reserve at no extra cost. I spent countless mornings there pretending I could sing and having the best time doing it. Why you always lie?
Explore.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's so many little nooks and crannies, because everything is tucked away over here or tucked away over there. And
there's just so much to explore on board, and the ship tour video shows you all the little spots you might otherwise miss.
Hello, how you doing? What is this space for? I've been on 9 sailings, and this is the first time I'm running to this place.
It's usually, well, because it's got an open window.
Okay.
This one is on every ship, but normally it's
Oh, that's what I thought.
room, because it's also our green room for when we have performers on board.
Okay, cool.
So we use it for that as well.
The spa on board continues to be one of my favorite ways to unwind at sea. I don't usually book treatments. Instead, I go for the all-access pass to the thermal suite. On this 8-day sailing, the price was $399. You can also gain access to the thermal area with any booked spa treatment, or purchase a 3-hour pass, which is often much cheaper when bought on a port day. While nothing has changed with the spa itself, it still ranks amongst the best thermal areas at sea, second only to the stunning new spas on Norwegian's latest ships. Virgin Spa also stands out as the only major cruise line spa featuring a cold plunge, which feels incredible after a night of dancing. And on the topic of dancing, Brilliant Lady introduced a few new dance parties, including the Electric Party and disco reimagined. Now, given the age range of most passengers on this long itinerary, we decided to skip these events. And from what a few fellow sailors who attended told me, the crowds for these parties were pretty light, which didn't surprise me considering the number of port stops and how many guests had early excursions booked the next morning. Several passengers did mention to me that they wish Virgin would host at least one dance party earlier in the evening, since most of the late night options don't really get going until around 11 p.m. One party we definitely stayed up was for the Scarlet Night pool party, which I'll show you at the end of this video. This cruise also marked our first time tendering at port with Virgin. And while it was clearly a learning curve for some of the crew, many of whom were on their very first contract, the process went as smoothly as you could have hoped for. And on that note, I have to give major credit to the Brilliant Lady team. The service throughout the sailing was phenomenal. Even as some of the newer staff were still finding the rhythm, what made a big difference was the number of experienced Virgin crew members on board to mentor and guide the new teams. Many of these managers are familiar faces we've seen on multiple previous sailings. Easport, Maine was one of the stops on this itinerary. And with a population of just over 1,200 residents, welcoming a ship carrying nearly twice that number of passengers was a big deal for the town. And with nearby Bar Harbor recently banning large cruise ships, Easport is hoping to see a financial boost from the 25 cruise ship visits scheduled this year. The town truly rolled out the red carpet for us. Local businesses displayed red flags in honor of the Brilliant Lady and her sailors. The town itself is charming but tiny. Essentially, it's one main street lined with a handful of shops and restaurants, all which had very steady lines while the ship was in port. So if you're planning to visit, I highly recommend booking an excursion, as there's not much to do within walking distance. We didn't book one, so we found ourselves back on board in less than 2 hours. St. John, New Brunswick, Canada was another of our port stops, and we did something we never do, and that's book an excursion through the cruise line. We were assigned a group number and met in the Red Room. Then we were guided to our tour buses, which by the way were surprisingly nice. Our first stop was the world famous Reversing Falls Rapids, where the tides of the Bay of Fundy create a natural phenomenon unlike anything else. As the tide rises, it slows the river's outflow, reaches a calm slack period, and then the unthinkable happens. It reverses the river's direction, sending the water upstream. If you ever visit on your own, try to time it near the rising tide for the most dramatic views. Afterwards, we took a scenic 45-minute drive to the St. Martin Sea Caves, which are also shaped by the Bay of Fundy's powerful tides. At low tide, you can actually walk across the ocean floor to explore the inside of the caves.
Make it to the cave?
We were there at high tide, and those same caves were completely filled with seawater. I was a little hesitant booking a tour through Virgin Voyages, especially since this was the very first time that they partnered with this local operator, but the experience was organized, smooth, and really well done. Definitely worth it. Halifax, Canada was our final port stop, and honestly my absolute favorite. There's so much to see and do here that you really don't need an excursion, especially if it's your first time. Halifax is home to one of the largest natural harbors in the world, second only to Sydney, Australia. The city's waterfront is absolutely beautiful. The harborfront boardwalk stretches about 2.5 miles, making it one of the longest urban boardwalks anywhere in the world. It's lined with seafood restaurants, shops, museums, and street performers. It has an amazing coastal vibe that's just easy to fall in love with.
We thought about moving to Canada.
Very excited about Canada.
After exploring a good portion of the boardwalk, we made our way uphill to the Citadel National Historic Site. It's a star-shaped fortress that overlooks the entire city. It was originally built to protect Halifax from naval attacks, and today you can still hear the daily cannon firing at noon.
That was scary. Wow. Holy crap. You like that?
A tradition that has been kept alive for over 160 years. The view from the top is worth the climb. You can see the harbor and downtown all at once. From there, we headed to the Halifax Public Gardens. This is a peaceful oasis in the middle of the city. These are among the oldest formal Victorian gardens in North America, officially opening in 1867, the same year Canada became a country. The gardens feature beautiful flower beds, fountains, and walking paths. And if you're visiting in the summer, you might even catch a live band playing at the central gazebo. It's the perfect spot to unwind after exploring the city. I might mention that Halifax played a major role in the Titanic recovery efforts. Many of the victims are buried here in the Fairview Lawn Cemetery. It's a pretty cool place to visit.
Dear Lord, please hear my plea. Don't let him take another love away from me, or I will surely die.
Scarlet Night is a signature event on Virgin Voyages. It's a ship-wide celebration where everything turns red at 9 p.m. and there are spontaneous pop-up performances unfolding throughout the whole ship. We spent most of the evening at karaoke with the Diva, which was an absolute blast. This Diva was one of my favorites on any Virgin ship. The night ends on the top deck with what I easily call the best adult party at sea. It's a great mix of music, dancing, and fun. For Virgin's Alaska itineraries, there's a special indoor version of Scarlet Night designed for cooler weather. Our sailing was definitely on the chilly side, but there was no way I was going to miss the chance to hear Abby, the original Scarlet Night hostess, perform the theme song for Scarlet Night live. The hostess is the closest thing that Virgin has to a cruise director, and Abby is the original hostess. She's the face of the brand and has launched every ship in the Virgin fleet.
You didn't think I'd let him launch a lady ship without me, did you? Cheers!
Here's a small taste of Scarlet Night.
Scarlet Night, to honor their love and to assure safe passage. So, come a little closer, get a little curious, dive in. When I saw you tonight, I got a stranger attraction I wanna marry. Moonlight is not a cherry action, 'cause you got what I want and I need it to leave it. So give me life like your air and I breathe it down. Come on, by the way, burn right, come to the sky, show out, find the
Here are my final thoughts on Brilliant Lady. If you've sailed on Virgin before, everything on board will feel comfortably familiar. As the last ship in this class, the updates are more about thoughtful refinement than major overhauls. This ship is built for longer itineraries, offering a more relaxed pace compared to the shorter 4 or 5 night sailings, and I actually enjoyed that change of tempo. Sea days were full of things to do, and Virgin has definitely elevated the onboard programming with Brilliant Lady. That said, the demand for entertainment is still high, so until Virgin either expands showtimes or the initial buzz fades, expect some lines to get into the popular shows. I didn't get to catch Red Hot, which premiered to amazing reviews while I was putting this video together, but the new paid dinner show is absolutely a must-do. Now, sailing out of New York was a highlight in itself. There's truly nothing like watching the skyline fade into the distance as you head out to the sea. Every sailing has its own personality depending on the region, and I've personally found the vibe a bit warmer on Virgin's other departures. But that's the beauty of cruising. Each port and each sailing attracts a unique energy. The new restaurant Roho was a standout for me, and it might be the reason enough to pick Brilliant Lady over the other ships in the fleet. I hope you enjoyed this video. A like and subscribe really helps the channel grow. Check out my Virgin playlist for more reviews and insight. And as always, I like to end my Virgin videos with the Scarlet Night theme song performed by the hostess on each sailing. And with this one, it features Abby. Enjoy.
Awakens, and you feel the power. Yes! Does it make you tremble?